woke up this morning thinking about the story of Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. And the reason that this was in my mind was because there's like a concept or there's a metaphor that I use in therapy often with myself, with my clients, called the hungry wolf. And all that is meant to represent is that often the thing that's presenting as a desire, as a want, as an addiction, as a craving, it's not usually the thing that satisfies. And so, as we see with many addictions, the actual object of our desire, the object, the cigarette, the alcohol, the person, the craving, the food, when you actually get that food, that hit, that whatever it is, the satisfaction level isn't ever what is anticipated in the leading up to it. And the reason for that often is because it's really not about that thing at all. It's about a way that it makes us feel. It's about a desire that's underneath the craving, underneath the object. And in life, often when we have a need, some unmet, some wound place, some wound point, we go to fill that need or try to meet that need with different objects of our desires. And our desires are our desires because of a lack or wounding from some point in our life, that subconscious place. And we see this subconscious come to light in symbolic form in our dreams, where perhaps the thing we're wanting presents itself as some symbol, some animal in our dream, or some thing that we receive and get. And in our dreams, we see it symbolically. We know that it's a dream and it's trying to probably show us something, that our subconscious is working something out while we sleep. But we don't always have that same level of discernment in our life when we are craving something or wanting something or having a desire. And oftentimes the kind of philosophy, the running modern philosophy of follow your heart, follow your gut, follow your desires, is not a bad thing, especially in a generation that has had a lot of perhaps gaslighting to our body and to our desires. But I think it's important to say that usually the desired thing is not actually the important part, the piece. It's just one way of meeting something, meeting a need, meeting a desire, meeting a fear, meeting a wound point that's underneath, just like a wolf dressed up in grandma's clothing. And so in therapy, we work to kind of tease out what that hungry wolf is, because it's often dressed up in other things, but underneath it is the hunger at its root, at its core. What core need is it trying to meet? What way did you not have a need met, or you have a fear there because there's a wound point there, and we're meeting this need. We're trying to satiate the hungry wolf, but the hungry wolf is never actually satiated or satisfied, and it goes back for more and more, as we see in addiction. And so when looking at the folk tale of the Big Bad Wolf, I feel like this is a really great kind of metaphor for what we experience when we see our desires, our wants as the surface thing, and not the hungry wolf underneath it. What is driving it? Where is this coming from? Why do I have this desire and this want? What is this act or object? What is it fulfilling in me? What is it making me feel? And why do I crave it? And is this the healthiest way to meet that need? Is this a loving way to meet that need? And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. And how can we choose better? And what is for our highest good? And how could we remove the need for that want or desire entirely? And do we want to? These are all valid questions, because maybe the answer is no, we don't want to remove the desire for it. And it's met with a really healthy way of loving and taking care of ourselves. But maybe the answer is not that. And maybe it's destroying our life slowly. And we can see that this habit or this desire isn't serving us. And so even if it's natural instinct, gut craving and want, that doesn't necessarily mean that the thing that it's wanting, that you are wanting, is for your highest good or your best interest, or that it's even going to meet that need and satiate that desire. So I woke up with my brain thinking about the big bad wolf and all the ways that the big bad wolf dresses up in my life and what that looks like. And one of those examples that I was thinking through this morning as I was kind of sitting and having my morning minutes was, well, there were a lot. I listed out a lot, so I'm trying to think of one to pick to kind of pull out and tease out with you. One of those desires that comes up a lot is ease around conflict. Just kind of like keeping everything easy and calm. Like the desire for me is to not really get into conflict with anyone in my life. And that can present it can dress itself up and look like grandma, something much less, much more tame, much sweeter, in that I want to stay calm with my children. I don't want to engage in arguments with them or battle, so to speak. And when dressed up in those clothes, it can look quite nice. It can look quite peacekeeping and calm and gentle and loving. But in reality, the hungry wolf underneath sometimes is just a desire to not engage and a desire for ease and comfort. And when I examine the hungry wolf that is underneath that, it's a wolf. It's not grandma. And so by kind of teasing that out and looking at it and saying, how is this not serving me to move to this space of avoiding conflict? I've drawn a lot more boundaries recently with one child that I wouldn't have drawn in the past, because I think that often our children's behavior is just a reflection of what they're needing and what they're going through. And I don't tend to see it in the lens of good or bad, but just information. And so I haven't drawn these certain boundaries with this child until this week, when I realized my desire to not draw boundaries with her right now, at least currently, is just in the exhaustion of not wanting to get into it with her, not wanting to hold a boundary that might feel uncomfortable, or to have to navigate the conversations that come out of me saying, this is a hard line. And we haven't given her a lot of hard lines in the past. And so now she's really pushing back against those hard lines. So this is just one example of a hungry wolf that I was looking at this morning. And there were several that I looked at this morning, but this is the one that came forward for me to share. And it's one that presents in a way that dresses up really nice. Like grandma is wearing, the bonnet and the sweet nightgown. And underneath, there's still a wolf there. There's others that present that don't look quite so sweet, and we kind of see the wolf for what it is, and the disguise isn't quite so good. And we know that perhaps our desire for sugar or, zoning out in media. These are all things that can be addictions. And perhaps it looks like, when we try to dress it up nicely, it's, oh, I need it for work, or I need it for research, or these would be the ones that I would use. You might use something different, but for me, it's research. I'm looking into it to know and understand what people are feeling and what they're thinking so that I can better help people that I work with. These are the ways to dress it up like grandma, but also there are ways that we can see our addictions and our wants and our desires that don't look anything like grandma. They look like the wolf that they are, but we can't quite see underneath what's driving them. And where is this coming from? And why do I have fear around this? Why do I have desire around this? Why do I have comfort seeking mechanisms around this topic? So what are some of your hungry wolves that you recognize, or maybe some that you haven't really recognized until recently, thinking through these types of questions? I would love to hear if you want to share that in the comments.